Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As we know, everyone's time is precious. My name is Jerry Montano. I am the Energy Sustainability Board Member for HESNI. I'd like to welcome everyone to our program today. Before launching into it, I'd like to touch on a few features to help everyone get the most out of today's presentation. While you can see and hear the presentation, your cameras and mics have been turned off. We encourage your questions and comments, and these may be written during the program in the chat screen. To access the screen, click on the icon in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Questions and comments will be monitored and relayed to the presenter for addressing, either as we go or near the end of the program. As with all HESNI webinars, today's program will be recorded for later viewing. A reminder that today's program is part one of a two-part presentation to be concluded on April 1st. Our presenter may have more to say about this. A little bit about our presenter. Over the past several years, Peter Locke and his company, Peter Locke, have helped Chicago area hospitals take advantage of ComEd's energy efficiency programs, working with several HESNI members throughout Chicago. Peter also works with hospitals, universities, and laboratories on energy efficiency initiatives in the Detroit area as part of DTE's Strategic Energy Management Program. I am now proud to present Peter.
Thanks, Jerry, and thanks again for everybody joining today. I'd also like to thank the HESNI board and Don Doherty for giving me the opportunity to share some of ComEd's energy efficiency programs with you today. As Jerry mentioned, myself and my company, Peter Locke, have had the privilege and honor of representing ComEd's energy efficiency programs to the healthcare sector for the last 8 years. So I know there are some on the call that I've had some really nice long relationships with and had the opportunity to work with very closely. So I really appreciate that, and thank you all for that. Hopefully you can all see the first slide, which says ComEd's energy efficiency programs, the 2021 updates, where we're going to talk a little bit about those updates as they relate to primarily the standard programs, custom programs, our instant discount programs, as well as some special incentives, which hopefully can really help increase or improve business cases and help you drive more energy efficiency projects at your sites or with your customers. So for today's agenda, or for today's topic, we'd like to first of all provide an overview of ComEd's energy efficiency programs. I know there are some of you on the call that have been participating in the programs for a number of years, and I think there are some that are just getting started with the program. So this overview will be a bit of a refresher for those of you who are familiar with the programs, and a bit of an introduction for those of you who may be less familiar with them. I then wanted to sort of present some statistics on how the healthcare sector is participating in these programs, and we have really been thankful for the healthcare sector's participation, and so we want to say thank you again for that. We'll then dive into the 2021 highlights of and changes of ComEd's energy programs. Want to definitely talk through some specific project examples. And then I just also want to make sure that you're aware of all of the support that our healthcare outreach team can provide to you. And that team consists of myself and Sue Campbell and Megan Fontana, who I believe are also on the call with us today. And then I want to wrap up with some next steps. And I will take pauses every few slides where appropriate to see if there are any questions. So please don't hesitate to type in your questions. So with regards to the overview of ComEd's energy efficiency programs, as hopefully some of you know, or maybe many of you, these programs were actually legislated by the state of Illinois starting back in 2007, with the programs beginning in 2008. So they've been around for quite some time, and the programs are actually funded by you through a line item on your monthly utility bill. And that charge, which is highlighted as the energy efficiency programs charge, is based off of your kWh consumption. So the more you consume, the more you contribute, the more you save, the less you contribute. And it's these funds that actually pay for the incentives that you receive, and they also pay for my time and Sue's time and Megan's time. So please note that we are paid by ComEd. We do not represent any product nor service provider. We're here simply to help you, the customer, the engineering firm, the supplier, the vendor, take advantage of these programs. And one more note on the overview here is that these programs, the legislation was updated in December of 2016 to continue these programs through 2030. So we've got another 9 years of these programs in front of us, if not more. And the funding that is available for these programs is actually pretty substantial. It is in the neighborhood of about $350 million a year for all of the sectors in ComEd's territory, and it's growing to about $400 million a year. So these are substantial programs with substantial incentive opportunities, and so we just want to keep helping you take advantage of them. Continuing on the program overview, this bulleted list highlights sort of the buckets of programs that are available to you. I'm not going to talk in detail about all of them. Again, this is intended to be an overview of or an introduction to the programs, but we bucket the programs into the first two are standard and custom incentives. These are actual cash incentives that you receive for implementing energy efficiency projects. On the right-hand side in the red box, you can see some examples of typical standard incentive projects. So if you're installing high efficiency chillers or VFDs, lighting, building automation systems, even kitchen equipment, the implementation of demand control ventilation systems in garages or in kitchens, the high efficiency filters, and other laboratory spaces and equipment opportunities are there. The third opportunity are what we call instant discounts. These discounts are provided to you directly from suppliers of light bulbs and specific HVAC equipment. So the incentive comes to you in the form of a reduced cost for that product, and we'll drill a little bit more into that. Other programs that we can help you navigate and take advantage of include retro commissioning and monitoring based commissioning. And I believe we probably got some of our retro commissioning and monitoring based commissioning service providers on the call today, which is great, so thank you. We also have a new construction and major renovation program. So if you're adding in a new wing to your facility, or you're helping a customer create a new medical office building or a new dock in the box, as some people refer to them, we have programs to help support that. We also have a small business offering. We know that there are many off-site facilities that the healthcare sector has, and so this is a great program to help make those buildings more energy efficient from a turnkey solution perspective. We also have a free online platform which is called Business Energy Analyzer. It allows us to slice and dice the data, your KW demand data and your KWH consumption data, so you can see how you are progressing with energy savings, or how you are and when you are consuming that electricity. The second to last one is what we call our facility assessment. This is a free walkthrough energy assessment of your facility. It also correlates to a ASHRAE level 1 type facility assessment, where we'll come out, we'll walk the facility, we'll talk with your facilities team about the operation of your building, and look for opportunities. And we will generate a report which will identify the opportunities, identify the potential energy savings, identify the potential incentive, and calculate the simple payback for that project. And lastly, which is not as energy efficiency related, but it is a program that is offered by ComEd, there are incentives for the installation of solar arrays. So if you've got questions on that, we can direct you to the right teams. This next slide is not intended to be an eye chart. It's just to sort of highlight all of the different types of standard and custom incentives that are available to you. We will make sure that everybody on the call and everybody who registered for the webinar will actually get this. It's a 1-pager, 2-sided document. It just is a quick cheat sheet, but we would suggest that you don't try to read and memorize all of this. If there is one takeaway for today's conversation, it is simply, if you've got a project you think it might save energy or you're not sure, simply reach out to myself, to Sue, or to Megan, right? So that's my only one takeaway for the group today. Just get in touch with us. We're here to help. Hopefully add some value to the conversation as well. So that's the end of the overview of ComEd's energy efficiency programs. Jerry, I don't know if there are any questions that came up through that.
I don't see any questions populating now, but if you want to give, if you want to give everyone some time to type in some questions, we can. Okay, well, we'll give everybody an opportunity to type them in as we progress, and we will move on. And so I wanted to share with the group, first and foremost, a huge thank you, right? The participation from the healthcare sector is, I think, pretty significant. And you can see that back in 2020, for the program year 2020, right, we helped the healthcare sector with 150 projects. And that's ensuring that they qualify for the program, getting all the paperwork together, submitting the pre-approval applications, then submitting the final applications. These are all things that we can help you with. And so it's great to see that we had 150 projects come through. And that's through the standard, custom, and instant discount programs. This actually does not include the additional projects that came through as a result of retro commissioning or monitoring-based commissioning or the new construction and major renovation programs as well. And so those numbers are even increased with the inclusion of those. But those 150 projects saved 10.4 million kilowatt hours of electricity. In some cases, that's 3 small hospitals that consume 3 or 4 million kilowatt hours of electricity each year. The cash incentives that we handed out were $1.5 million, and that equates to about $780,000 in electric utility bill savings. So I think those are some pretty nice numbers. We're hoping that in 2021, the sector can actually increase that KWH savings, and we're shooting for 12 million kilowatt hours of electricity saved, and we're hoping that we can actually, and then sort of where we are right now. Right now, we've got 66 projects that have been submitted and approved and are in the works for 2021. Those 66 projects correspond to 6.5 million kilowatt hours of electricity that we hope is going to be saved. With the incentives that are reserved is just over $900,000 in incentives. So we're hoping that over the coming months, we can share these statistics with the group, so we can see how we are progressing towards that 12 million kilowatt hour savings goal. So again, thanks for your past participation. Thanks for your current participation, and preemptive thank you for your future participation. All right. So let's switch over to sort of some of the new and major changes that are taking place in this 2021 program year. So the top 3 are really new to this year. I've added the 4th because it relates so nicely to the top 3. So the first major change to 2021 is a substantial increase in the incentive that is available for new water-cooled chillers. The incentive in the past was nice, but this is really increased. And as you can see here, right, if you can install a standard or a water-cooled chiller that is a
sort of a direct drive chiller with an integrated VFD, you can receive $400 per ton for that chiller. If you ballpark chiller installations at $1,000 or $1,500 per ton, right, you're talking 40% of the project cost or 20% of the project cost covered by the incentive. So it's a significant incentive, and it can only grow as we talk about the other opportunities there. Along the same lines, if you're doing a magnetic bearing chiller, all of which have integrated VFDs, but it's not a direct drive chiller, there is a $250 per ton incentive for that chiller. And it's great that we've already got a few projects in the works that are taking advantage of this $250 per ton incentive. And we won't so much highlight the specific project, but we'll let you see what sort of incentives they're getting for that project. Another special incentive that ComEd is making available this year is for large energy efficiency projects. And these are for projects that have a standard incentive of over $50,000. So if you come to the table with a project that is over $50,000, you can get a 30% bonus or special incentive on top of that standard incentive if your project can be completed by July 30th. And I know that can be a little tough given that you'd probably have to get capital requested, but if by chance something is in the works, this might help accelerate it. And if that project can't be completed by July 30th, but can be completed by October 29th of this year, that 30% bonus goes down a little bit, and it's a 25% special incentive for that large project. The next major change to this year's program is that it's a program that we're calling our custom combo. So if you can bring together a custom project as well as an additional standard incented project, we will increase the incentive amount from 12 cents per kWh saved to 15% or 15 cents per kWh saved. Some of you may remember that 2 years ago, the custom incentive was actually at 7 cents per kWh. So between 2 years ago and last year, we went from 7 cents up to 12, and now we're making it a possibility to get up to 15 cents per kWh saved. Those projects need to be completed by November 19th, 2021. And what's nice about this one is that you don't have to have those projects at the same customer's site. They can be or at the same account number. So if you take a system, let's say Advocate, that has multiple sites, all the same customer, just not the same account number, we could grab different projects from 2 different sites so that we could get this 15 cents. And then the last one, last row on the table here, is the Comprehensive Energy Savings Program. And this allows us to get a 20% special incentive if we can implement 3 or more what we call qualifying projects over 2 years. The goal here, or the objective here, is to help you and others think a little bit more long-term, help us build a more robust pipeline with better insight into it. And those typical projects are lighting that is fixtures or controls, or networked lighting, obviously on the HVAC side, chillers, rooftop units, variable speed drives, and building automation systems, and then custom incentives as well. And we'll have a little bit more on that. The following slides, I'm going to go through pretty quickly because they are just provide a bit more detail for these 4 rows, and so I don't want to belabor them too much. So here is a slide, and these slides will be available to you after this presentation or after this webinar. It just talks about the chiller incentives of $400 per ton and $250, and a quick screenshot of the incentive worksheet. Moving on to the next one, here's the incentive worksheet, so you can see that the requirements for the different chillers at different tonnages and what efficiency you have to achieve in order to get that incentive. I would not recommend any of you really trying to pull down these incentive worksheets and look through them. I just say give Peter, Sue, or Megan a call or an email, and we can help you out quick and easy. Here's a little more information on the large energy efficiency projects incentive. And again, most of the hospitals that we're dealing with are in the private sector, which is why I highlighted the $50,000 minimum incentive amount. If you are working with customers that are in the public sector, there is a bit of a lower threshold to still achieve those incentive additions. And again, you can see here that only projects started or submitted on or after January 1st are eligible, and again, when those projects need to be completed. A little more detail on the custom combo incentive, again, highlighting the 15 cents per kWh. This is just a quick list of the quote qualifying projects that are available to you or that we can choose from to get that additional 20%. So that'll be in this deck as well. And I think the last slide I've got in this section is really looking at how we can combine these incentives to really make the incentives drive business cases and really incent you to hopefully take action now or sooner. So in this first case, this is an actual project. It just happens to be that Advocate Lutheran General is installing a new chiller in their chiller plant, and it's a 750-ton chiller. It's a magnetic bearing chiller, and so when you start to do the math, and this is what we're working with them on, is that standard incentive is $187,000. That by itself is a huge chunk of money. When we include the large energy efficiency project, the 30% there, that is 30% of that $187,000, which is equal to $56,000 in special incentives. And if we can make sure that the site is able to implement 3 qualifying projects over the next 2 years, we can get another 20% on top of that. So for this one chiller, if we can take advantage of all of those incentives, we can help ALG get $281,000 in incentives for that project. So these are real numbers that if we get engaged at the right time, we can help you receive. The project on the right is an example, and what I wanted to highlight was what sort of chiller you would have to install in order to qualify for these other incentives. So if you have a 125-ton chiller that you're looking to replace, and you are doing a non-magnetic bearing chiller or a direct drive chiller with an integrated VFD, you can get an incentive of $400 per ton. And that $400 per ton times 125 tons gives you a $50,000 incentive, which gets us to that large energy efficiency project threshold. So now we get 30% on top of that. So now we've got $15,000. We get another 20% if we can find 3 or more qualifying projects at that site. So that would be another $10,000 on top of the 50. So for a total of $75,000 for that 125-ton chiller. So these are significant changes from 2020 to 2021, and we're doing everything we can to make sure everybody really sees these because they can really drive the projects. So at this time, I think I'll take a quick little pause and see, Jerry, if there are any questions.
Hi, Peter. Yeah, I don't see any questions coming in yet, so We
Okay.
can give the members some time if they, if you guys want. That way they can type in any questions they might have.
All right, great, thanks. All right, so let's just review some of the quick changes to the 2021 incentives that deal with the standard incentive program. I think first and foremost is that we know that a lot of you do a lot of projects really quickly. You might have a couple of floors that you want to do lighting retrofits on, but you don't have all the money for right away. And it might be that you've got a the great thing now is that we can do those 20 fixtures, and you can go ahead and you can do them. And once you get them done, then we can actually just submit a final application. There's no need to submit a pre-approval application. You just go right to the final application as long as the total incentive being requested is less than $1,000. So this will allow you to go 25 fixtures, 25 fixtures, 25 fixtures. I think it aligns better with how in some cases you guys actually do projects, because you don't have that large capital outlay. You've got some remaining operational funds or some operational funds that you can take advantage of to do this. So that's just a great little opportunity. And harping on my one takeaway from today, if you ever see anything that says download the standard application and incentive worksheet at comed.com/applications, you're more than welcome to do that. But I would suggest call Peter, call Sue, call Megan. Much easier, much faster. And I say that we've got one customer that we work with, and the phrase he likes to use is that he looks at us as a force multiplier, right? Anything we can do to help him. Just like Jerry said at the very beginning of the presentation, we know everybody's busy. We know everybody's time is precious. We are here to help sort of become a force multiplier for you. Take effort off your plate, give it to us, let us help you out. Still in the sort of changes to the standard incentive programs for 2020, and this is the last one here, is that we are really trying to promote the use of lighting controls. And so if you're doing a project that is retrofitting lights and installing controls, we can give you more incentives. So the typical incentive for doing a lighting retrofit is 50 cents per watt reduced. But if your project actually integrates controls to that, we won't just give you 50 cents per watt reduced, we'll give you 60 cents per watt reduced. And then we will give you an additional incentive of 40 cents per watt controlled, or up to 15 cents per kWh saved above a target. And we can work with you on what that target is, and if we think you can go above and beyond that, and if it makes more sense to just go after the 40 watts controlled or the 15 cents per watt or kWh saved. We have been finalizing a project with one customer. It was an easy no-brainer decision to go with the 40 cents per watt controlled based on the specifics of their project. All right, so we're going to drill into the instant discounts now. For those of you who are less familiar with the instant discount program, again, this program provides cash to suppliers of lights and to suppliers of specific HVAC equipment. And those incentives, or that cash, allows them to reduce the cost of that bulb or that piece of equipment directly to you. And I really want to highlight one specific opportunity because it's got such a great payback. So right now, you can go on the market and buy a 4-foot tubular LED for in the neighborhood of $5 or $6. The ComEd Instant Discount Program provides a $4 incentive. So you now have taken that 4-foot tubular LED from $6 or $5 down to $2 or $1 per bulb. And if you're going from a 32 watt or 28 watt T8 to a 14 watt tubular LED, and that bulb is in a corridor that's on pretty much 24/7, or is in a stairwell that's on 24/7, that payback is about 6 months. That doesn't factor in labor, but if you're using a type A bulb, that labor really should be negligible, because a type A bulb is a bulb that's designed to work with the existing electronic ballast. If you choose to go down the type B path and you need to do some rewiring, obviously there's a little bit more labor in that, but this is a great incentive opportunity. And we've had systems do 60,000 bulbs, 8,000 bulbs, lots of bulbs at sort of a very low cost approach. So, and the thing that was highlighted here is that last year for a while we had a special incentive that instant discount was at $5 per bulb, but it is now back to the typical 2020 level of $4 per bulb. And one more slide in the instant discount side, related to the purchase of package rooftop units, high efficiency package rooftop units. And you can see here that those incentives used to be sort of standard at one level of $45 per ton, but now we've increased those up to $67 to $90 per ton if you've got a tier 2 efficiency rooftop unit, or even more, $157 to $210 per ton. And what's required here is that you buy that package rooftop unit from a participating supplier. We can help you identify those suppliers, but this is just it's just another increase in the amount of incentives that are available for these units. And by going through the program, you're also confirming that the unit you're buying is a high efficiency unit. Unfortunately, we have seen situations in which pieces of equipment that have been recommended have not been even meeting sort of standard efficiencies. We know that's sort of few and far between, but this is a good way to ensure that the piece of equipment you're getting is energy efficient. All right. All right, we're gonna, a couple more sections. We've got some project examples that we want to run through, and then we're gonna share a little bit about the services and the support that our team can provide you with, and then we're gonna wrap it up. So, just want to share some projects, right? Not going to call too many people out by name here, but just sort of share the incentives that were available for these chillers or for these projects, the amount of kWh that was saved for them, and then some just other comments. So one chiller that we installed, it was a 1,000-ton chiller. It's a big chiller, and this was last year before this incentive grew. But the customer received almost $100,000 for that chiller. And the customer that we were working with has participated in the programs before. And the great thing here is that they know just to send us the spec sheet for the chiller, right? We take care of everything else. So in very short order, they sent us the spec sheet for the chiller. It includes the integrated part load value of that chiller. We verify that it qualifies. We do the quick incentive calculation, and for very little effort, the customer is getting a $100,000 incentive. Now, obviously, if you take that same chiller from last year and now bring it into this year, that incentive grows up to $250,000 because it's that 1,000-ton chiller at $250 per ton. But it saved almost 500,000 kilowatt hours in savings. So sort of a simple, easy project to take advantage of, verify that you've got a high efficiency chiller, and move on. Next one, an air-cooled chiller, right? This is actually a pretty substantial incentive for an air-cooled chiller because the engineering firm and the customer were able to get a low integrated part load value, and it's that low integrated part load value which increases the incentive amount. You could do a a chiller that's half that size and have a just barely code compliant IPLV, and that chiller or that incentive drops down to a few $1,000s. So we want to help see if there's opportunities to increase the efficiency of those chillers. Obviously, the cost increases, the first cost increases, but hopefully the incentive offsets that increased cost, and hopefully the life cycle cost that I know some of you do for your customers will help that customer make the decision that, hey, we're making a 30-year strategic decision to buy a new water-cooled or air-cooled chiller. And it makes sense for us to buy a higher efficiency chiller and take advantage of the additional incentives from ComEd's energy efficiency programs. The next two line items highlight the incentives that we are providing for two buildings that are getting upgraded building energy management systems or building automation systems. And we know these projects can be pretty expensive, but when you can take a 350,000 square foot facility through a standard incentive, we can get them $55,000 for that building automation system, which is a nice incentive. And as going through part of that program or going through the standard incentive program, we're also making sure that we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's with regards to which specific control strategies are being implemented and where they're being implemented, and making sure we're taking as much advantage of the BAS's energy saving functionality as possible. And then I know a number of you, whether you're customers or engineering firms or suppliers or vendors, right, work with a lot of smaller off-site clinics. And this is an example of a small off-site clinic, 56,000 square feet. We did a quick little building automation system upgrade there. They're getting $6,000 or $5,600 for that, saving 26,000 kWh. In this case, it's also great that we're working with the building engineer on this, and he's gotten really excited about learning more about the building automation system and how we can tweak it. And so it was just sort of a win-win-win for the vendor, the customer, and for the program. I've highlighted the next three line items as they're all high efficiency filters. We've really been pressing these lately because regardless of your financial situation, constraints, restrictions, you've got to replace your filters. And if there's an opportunity to replace your final filters with high efficiency, low pressure drop filters, we can provide incentives. Now, the incentives may not seem huge, but if you can get a few $100s per air handling unit, it starts to add up. And these incentives are available for every time you replace your final filters in an air handling unit. So every couple of years, we can actually come back to the well and get this incentive. And we have had customers do this. The first line item, the 29 air handling unit line, this was actually Advocate Illinois Masonic. And we worked with Jerry and Daryl there and got a nice $8,818 incentive for the replacement of final filters on 29 air handling units. I think the other one is also the beginnings of an Advocate project, and I think the other one is one that we're doing at Lurie Children's, and it's a great opportunity. And I think these projects also set us up for future energy efficiency opportunities. So some of the requirements on getting the high efficiency, low pressure drop filters is that your air handling units have to have VFDs on them, and the distribution systems have to be variable air volume distribution systems. So when we come in here and we help identify those air handling units, what we do is we create what we call an air handling unit register. And it's simply a spreadsheet that lists all your air handling units, and it lists some attributes about it. Is it variable? Does it have a VFD? Is the distribution system VAV? If those air handling units get excluded from the filters, we now know that they are at some point potentially available for VFDs on the air handling unit, or if you're going to convert a constant volume system maybe to a variable air volume system, or we also get insight into, is that distribution system pneumatic, and maybe are you going to upgrade it to DDC? If that is in fact the case, then maybe there's an opportunity for an incentive with a BAS, a building automation system incentive. So the incentives might seem relatively small, but they are repeatable and they help identify more opportunities. So these are great opportunities. And in this case, it's also been great to work with the advocate group, because we're now trying to implement a system-wide program that says, hey, let's make sure that every time we do air handling unit filter at any of their sites, we've got it teed up months in advance. And then the last project on the list is we had a customer that did a garage lighting project and a parking lot lighting project. They did it with controls. They are getting a $18,000 incentive. They're saving 213,000 kWh. They retrofitted 478 fixtures. So it's a great project. It's something that happens repeatedly. And maybe on a little bit of an unfortunate note, some of you might have heard of the challenges that are being seen in some communities with carjackings. So if you're upgrading lighting to address those issues, we can provide incentives there. How are we doing, Jerry? Any questions?
Yeah, Peter, no questions yet. So if you want to continue on.
All right, we will do just that. So like I said at the beginning of the presentation, the energy efficiency programs are going to be around for another 9 years. And a lot of lighting has been done, a lot of chillers have been done, a lot of VFDs have been done. We are looking for new opportunities, new ways to incent the work that you're going to continue to be doing. And so anything that does not qualify for a standard incentive can be incented through our custom incentive program. And I just want to highlight a few of the projects that we're working on right now with regards to custom incentives. And the big takeaway here is that whenever you're doing a project and you're thinking you're doing something that might go above and beyond code, we can probably help you get an incentive for that. And so right now we are really looking at cooling towers. If you're putting in a new cooling tower and you design that cooling tower to be more efficient than code requires, we can potentially get you an incentive for that. The project we're looking at right now is, we think the code requirement is at 40 gallons per minute per horsepower. The cooling tower that was designed by one of the engineering firms was at 68 gallons per minute per horsepower. And so we're looking at seeing over the cooling season how much energy that saves. In this one specific case as well, we are looking to say, hey, we're able to take load off the air-cooled chiller and put it on a water-cooled chiller. And so that has energy savings as well, because obviously an air-cooled chiller has a higher integrated part load value. The water-cooled chiller has a lower one, and so we can incent that savings there. And we're also doing it for facilities. Obviously, a lot of hospitals have winter loads. And in some cases, those winter loads might be met with air-cooled chillers. And so is there an opportunity to maybe winterize a cooling tower and switch that load from the air-cooled chiller over to the water-cooled chiller? Another one we're working on is the installation of new windows. And the installation of new windows is a very expensive, strategic, long-term decision, undertaking. But if we install windows that go above and beyond code with regards to their U factor, U value, solar heat gain coefficient, we can potentially provide an incentive here. And we actually helped this customer and the engineering firm just do a simple eQuest building model, accepted a lot of the defaults, entered in the 2 different window types and the areas, and we have secured them with a $19,000 incentive at the moment. So not huge, especially in context of the whole window replacement project, but it adds up. And the incremental cost for that project, right, was at the window side, it's like $3 a square foot to go from a code compliant window to a high efficiency code or high efficiency window. I know that $3 per square foot gets a little bit more expensive as you keep sort of working your way through the food chain, but we're making this project pay out for the customer. One of the other types of custom projects that we're putting a lot of focus on these days is the optimization of chilled water distribution systems. And this is really the focus of part 2 of our presentation, which we're going to do on April 1st. We had run a pilot project at a hospital, OSF St. Anthony in Rockford, where we had the installation of some flow energy smart valves, which are pressure independent control valves on 8 or 10, I forget, air handling units. And we have seen substantial energy savings and flows on that distribution wing. We're now in the midst of the second phase of that, where we're going down the same path on the remainder of those air handling units and the installation of those pressure independent control valves with a bunch of smarts on top of it. So we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into that project on April 1st, and I'll share some quick metrics on that at the end of this presentation. As you can see in the red box on the side, there are some specifications that are required for custom incentives, right? Again, 12 cents per kWh saved if it's just a standalone project, 15 cents per kWh if we can do a custom combo. The energy savings has to pay back the incremental project cost within 1 to 7 years, and the total incentive paid cannot exceed 100% of the incremental measure cost or 100% of the total project cost. I might have glassed over a little bit there, but the long story short is, if you got questions, give us a call. All right. I think we've got 2 or 3 more slides and then we'll be wrapping it up. So this is a sort of a business case, or the beginnings of a business case we're working through with one engineering firm and one customer to see if we might be able to help them accelerate the schedule to implement a building automation system upgrade. So right now they've got an air-cooled chiller that we're looking to get them a standard incentive on, and they've got some VFDs going in on a chilled water pump. And so if we just took scenario 1 here and the incentives that are available, they get a nice $35,000 incentive. That's great, fantastic. We're happy to help, and we're moving forward there. But we're thinking, okay, is there a way for us to think about this a little bit differently? So scenario 2 is the remainder rows, with the exception of the last one. And we still get the $35,000 or the $34,000 standard incentive. If we could do, as part of this project, the building automation system upgrade, which they're going to do, they've got on their schedule to do next year. But if we can bring it forward to this year, we can get that, still that sort of $18,000 incentive, and we combine those 2 projects together, and we are now over our $50,000 incentive threshold for the large energy efficiency project incentive. So now we add that 25% onto the chiller, we add the 25% onto the BAS upgrade. We've now added $15,000 on top of the 52. Because we're putting VFDs on a chilled water pumps, there's sort of an alternative to say we're actually redoing the piping configuration, and we're converting this constant volume system to a variable primary pumping system. So we could move this just standard incentive for the installation of VFDs on chilled water pumps to constant volume to a custom incentive, and combining it with another standard, we can now get 15 cents per kWh. We've not yet done a custom calc to figure out what that might be, so this is sort of to be determined, but this would end up with more incentive dollars there. But now we've got our 3 qualifying projects that give us another 20%. So now we get 20% on top of the $34,000, so $6,840, another $3,700 on the BAS, and we'd also get 20% on whatever that custom combo incentive would be. And so then you add them all up, we're now at $76,488, right? Granted, you're still going to get this $18,000 next year when you do the project, but all of the other incentives and the incremental on the custom combo hopefully incents the customer to say, hey, this is something that we should do this year. And it's an extra $25,000 or $30,000. So these are the way we like to sort of add projects together, think a little bit more comprehensively, a little bit longer term to see if we can incent additional projects to happen sooner. All right. Oops, I went the wrong way. Sorry about that. All right. So I think we've got 2 more slides. So last slide we want to present, the second to last one is sort of what we, the healthcare outreach team, again, Sue, Megan, and myself can help you with. And again, please look at us as force multipliers. We are paid by ComEd, so you can't call us or email us too much. We can obviously provide support for all of the ComEd energy efficiency programs, which I mentioned at the beginning. We obviously can help in very short order complete those pre-approval and final applications. We do it a lot. We do it all the time. It's very straightforward for us. We also find that we can help the vendors, the engineering firms, the contractors through this process, and it takes load off of the customer if we are in direct contract with your vendors and engineering firms. We can work with them to get the information. We can better let them know what's going on with the ComEd incentive programs. So it's just a great sort of add there. If you're going down the path of thinking about a custom project, we can help develop those energy saving calculations, right? We do it a lot. We've got templates. We sort of know what ComEd's looking for, and we can do it very quickly. And one thing we've really started to do lately is to schedule and hold what we call 15-minute monthly touch base calls. These are quick calls. Do not go over 15 minutes, but what these do is they ensure that we're not missing opportunities.
Okay, folks, I think that's going to do it for today. And I want to thank everyone for sticking with us through the lunch hour. It was a very good informational program. Again, remind you that we're going to have a recording of the entire program available online through our website at HESNI.org. Probably in the next 24 hours, along with there you can also download a copy of Peter's PowerPoint slides here today. And we're going to prepare a CEU certificate for those of you who are counting your contact hours in these educational programs. I want to thank you all again, and please join us on April 1st for the second part of this program.